I rise in opposition to House Continuing Resolution 11, the House Democrat budget for fiscal year 21. And in response, Mr. Speaker, to a previous speaker, it is always time to talk about the deficit. Our national debt has already climbed to $28 trillion, representing about $85,000 per American citizen. This is over $200,000 per American family or household. How can we ever hope to repay that? The spending on our interest payments alone on this debt, even with the current artificially low interest rates, amounts to about 8% of our annual budget as recently as fiscal year 19. It's projected to rise to 26% of our budget over the next 30 years or by fiscal year 50. This path of fiscal insanity is simply not sustainable. Without our currently artificially low rates, we simply couldn't even afford to pay our existing debt right now. Our national debt and current fiscal situation truly represents one of the greatest threats to our country. The science, as we like to say, or more specifically the math, confirms this reality because a day of reckoning is coming. We are the first generation to ever leave a legacy of debt to our children and grandchildren. The greatest generation, the World War II generation, who also faced down the Great Depression crisis, didn't even do this to us. So where do we find ourselves today? We're contemplating a $2 trillion spending package that will cost every American citizen an average of about $6,000 apiece, or $15,000 per family. For what? What will they be getting for their share of this new debt? Some will get a $1,400 check in return for their $6,000 share of the debt. That's not a very good deal. This proposal comes from the same folks who continue to unjustifiably clamp down on our freedoms economically and otherwise. In fact, in my own home state of Virginia, 25% of businesses have permanently closed since the lockdowns began. There's simply no substitute for the American economy, and no relief or spending package will ever be sufficient. When has government spending ever truly fixed the problem or not made it worse? We've got to turn the American worker, the American business person, and the American economy loose. We've got to stop spending our citizens' future and instead may I have 15 more seconds?
I yield 15 seconds to the gentleman.
We've got to stop spending our citizens' financial future. I'm sorry?
Mask on.
We've got to stop spending our citizens' financial future and instead empower them to chart their own economic destiny. To paraphrase the words of a famous young environmentalist, how dare you and how dare we?